Hi, so in case you haven't noticed, there are no guitars behind me right now, at all. Usually this rack is full, there's one on the wall, there's one in this stand, but right now there is nothing there. Why? Well, that's a very legitimate question, and it deserves a very legitimate answer. Around this time last year, actually a bit earlier, I think it was like early June, I kind of slept on this one for a while, sorry. I made a video detailing my entire collection of guitars and basses, and in retrospect it seems like you enjoyed watching that video as much as I enjoyed making it. And so I thought, in light of the fact that buying and selling is a major part in the life of every guitar and bass player, I'd make this video an annual thing. Because I've not only acquired plenty of new instruments in the time since that first video, but I've also sold plenty of other ones for those ones to replace. So I altered the title of the last one to Every Guitar I Own parentheses 2022 to open up the option of making this an annual thing, and welcome to the second annual installment of Every Guitar and Bass I Own. Let's get into it. This is going to be a long video. The collection has grown massively since the last time, so let's start with a familiar character that you'll definitely have seen on the channel before if this isn't the first video you're watching. My 2003 Fender Made in Mexico Stratocaster. I've talked about this thing at length before in my videos. It's a Mexican-made Stratocaster. Each of them is technically unique because these finishes are hand-done, and they're an absolute hidden gem because people never paid much attention to these given they were a limited run of cheap Mexican-made Strats. But this is the best guitar that I own. And I mean that. There is just some fucking vibe, some mojo to it that makes me love it so much, and I reach for it every single day without fail. It is my absolute baby, and I've considered buying 1, 2, 3 more on Reverb because they go for about 800 to 900, and I'd rather stock up on them now so I'd have them for the rest of my life rather than eventually them not being available anymore. I have fuck all idea what's in this thing as far as pickups go, even as far as the body wood goes or anything. There is no data for these online, and I don't care because it's amazing. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll have heard this thing 1,000,000 times before, but just take another listen anyway. Righto, staying, I guess, sort of in the vein of Strat-style guitars, I'm not sure if I had this thing back when I made that first guitar collection video. This is my Cosmo Kramer. There was an entire video on the process of me making this guitar because this started off as a Kramer Baretta special for about 170, 180 euro, and I customized every little bit of it down to the last nitty-gritty detail, and I love it so much. And if you're a fan of Seinfeld, not so much of Michael Richards personally, that's understandable, but this is about the characters, shut up. If you're a fan of Seinfeld, this thing is guaranteed to make you chuckle, and that is exactly what I wanted to achieve with it. So as you can see, I've stenciled and spray painted Kramer's face on it, along with the phrase, "These pretzels are making me thirsty." I've had frets 12 and up scalloped because, I don't know, fun and pizzazz, I guess. I paid a lot of money for that, but it's whatever. And while there was a very deep Seinfeld reference hand-engraved into the chrome pickup cover on the original pickup I had inside this thing, I decided to replace it like a couple of months ago with a Fishman Fluence modern neck pickup, actually, because I used this thing for leads a lot and it only has one pickup. Take a listen. If you want either an incredible cheap mod platform or a cheap guitar that plays amazingly well out of the box and sounds great and is just punches way above its fucking weight class, get a Kramer Baretta special. They're still like 180 bucks to this day, and they're just amazing. Another familiar face, but definitely a guitar I don't use often enough on the channel, is my 1986 Fender Made in Japan Flower Strat. I used to have a lot more Strats, but in recent months I've come to realize that this and the Stratocaster are the only Fender Strats that I've really been playing on a regular basis. The other ones, namely my 1983 or so Black Stratocaster and my 2002 Antigua Strat, both Japanese made of course because I'm a nerd, had just kind of been sitting in the corner unloved for such a long time that I felt like I love these guitars, but I'd rather someone else has them who actually wants to use them. And fun fact, 2 of my Patreon members respectively bought 1 each of those guitars. So, you know, I know that you're watching this if you bought one of those because you pay for extra content, so thanks, I guess. Have fun with them. I don't know. I know for a fact that they enjoy them. But anyway, back to this guitar. It has this amazing sort of, even like kind of tinfoilish looking flower paint underneath the clear coat. It's amazing. I absolutely love it. I don't actually know if this is a clear pickguard with some foil under it, if the pickguard is painted. I really don't know, but I don't care, once again, because it's amazing. Obviously, since it's like 37 years old, it is going to have some signs of wear and tear, and it definitely does. Like that kind of clear tongue oil coat on the maple fretboard is very peely at this point. Like with every note I bend in one of the spots where it's peeling, some more of it just kind of snaps off and falls on the ground. This is the original Trembar, as you can tell by the fact that it's absolutely but it still plays and sounds just as amazing as I'm sure it did in 1986. Yippee! Moving swiftly on to a hateful guitar that I wish I had never bought, but then again made for one of the best videos on my channel to date. This is the absolutely, completely counterfeit AliExpress BC Rich Son of Beast, and it is horrid. Like, I swear to God, I've never played a guitar worse than this. I've had other guitar players over at my studio since buying this thing, and each of them I've just told, here, just grab this thing for a second, and as soon as their hand touched the neck, all of their facial expressions were the same. It just gives you this, like, physical reaction of what the f*** am I holding right now? And honestly, it's the worst guitar in the studio by a mile. Sadly, I can't give you a sound demo of it because, yeah, right here, there's a hole where the pickup switch should be, because I've, you know, kind of harvested it for parts since that's all it's good for, because I was modding someone's Ibanez guitar, and Ibanez has kind of a thing for weird switches on their low-end guitars, so I just took a regular-ass 3-way switch out of this thing, and it doesn't function anymore because of that. But that's not a big loss now, is it? If you would like to hear how it sounds, then there will be a video link in the end card of this video or in the description once you're done watching this. Let's just put this failed abomination of a guitar right next to the failed abomination of a Kerry King signature amp. Enter another familiar face, the 1991 Washburn Nuno N2. Yes, this is a 91, the first run of these guitars ever made, so it's before they started cutting costs and all that crap. I made a whole video about this guitar too because of how happy I am that I own it, so again, video description, end card, whatever. But since I bought it, I've also made a whole other video modifying it with the Sudetian Winters by Vermilion pickups, which sound quite similar to the Bill Lawrence, which is exactly what I wanted, because the only reason I replaced the pickups in the first place is because the old ones started kind of fucking up and getting microphonic, because old Bill Lawrence pickups kind of have a reputation for doing that. But these sound amazing. They look even better. I like this thing. Have a listen. Yippee. another joyless instrument in my collection. It is the absolutely failed mod project that is the Muzima Leadstar. If you don't know this guitar, I also made an entire video about this in its original state, which is nowhere near what this looks like right now. You'd be surprised to find out what it looked like beforehand. But I also made a whole video about this because it is a guitar from the GDR. It was made, in the German Democratic Republic, and that is why I still own it. Otherwise, I would have put it in the bin by now. But it's still an interesting thing to own, despite how far beyond recognition I've messed this thing up. Also, it does share another attribute with the AliExpress Son of Beast, which is that I've harvested it for parts since I really hate it, and therefore it doesn't work anymore because the pickup switch is also missing. Just like the counterfeit BC Rich, this thing has no redeeming qualities besides the funny sparkly finish I gave it. You can go over here where no one sees you. Continuing along with the theme of guitars that are currently unplayable, you'll notice this a lot in my arsenal for some reason, I guess because I'm a modder and I have a bunch of carcasses lying around. This here is, or was formerly, the Ibanez PGM Micro. It's quite obviously a 3/4 scale short scale guitar, and it's Paul Gilbert's signature for whatever goddamn reason. And I only bought this thing because I wanted to make a video about short scale guitars, or scale lengths in general, which I did. It didn't perform very well, but it's whatever. I guess I gained this thing out of it. I've since sold the pink pickups inside this thing to a Patreon member who wanted them, and I'm just kind of looking for something to put in here now. But it's also not very fun to play, A, because it's not a great guitar, and B, because it's very difficult to keep one of these things in tune or play it well intonated, because as soon as you press on the string slightly too hard, it goes out of tune. It's not a fun instrument to play, but it's definitely funny to see someone play it, so that's why I've kept it and sold the pickups. And you also go in the corner of shame. This is the shame corner right here now. Oh look, it's another Ibanez. What do the last two Ibanezes have in common? They are not playable. Why is this thing not playable? It looks to have brand new pickups in it, because red Fishmans have not existed for very long. Well, you would be right. This is the Ibanez RGX whatever the fuck. These things are not named very coherently. And I bought this thing specifically direct from Ibanez, because Fishman had mailed me these Richard Z from Rammstein signature humbuckers a week in advance before release, so I could review them on release day. Sadly, however, the bridge pickup is completely fried. That is right, this pickup was fried out of the box. This one is completely fine, but I can hardly review a set of two humbuckers based just on the neck one, so I had to deal with the fact that that video was not going to happen, and I was now out like $122 just because I'd bought this thing specifically to review a set of pickups that I now can't use, and now I have a guitar that I don't want and a set of pickups that isn't functional. Life really plays some cruel tricks on you sometimes, but this thing actually turned out to be an amazing guitar for the money, and so I made a review video on it, not in a last-ditch effort to make some of the money back off of ad revenue, even though that did happen, but just because I liked it. But I still can't demo this thing for you right now because the pickups in it, or at least the pickup in it, is broken, so, whoops. Honorary member in the corner of shame, because more shame on the pickups than the guitar. I actually quite enjoy the guitar. I made a whole video on it. Look, it's a guitar that I can demo for you. And it is my Squier Absorber, as I've dubbed it. This used to be one of the Squier Sonic Series guitars, which were released, like, I don't know, half a year ago at this point. Time passes very quickly. But I bought one as soon as I could get my hands on it, and I think I was the first person to post a review of these on YouTube. And immediately afterwards, I did a mod project, and this is how it turned out. Fishman Fluence modern bridge pickup. It has one pot now. It used to have two, but the aluminium pickguard that I bought for it only had one, and this was the only one available in the world. You have no idea how difficult it was to obtain this pickguard. I had to have someone in the US order it for me and then ship it to me, so I paid way too much for it. I replaced the bridge with a black one, I replaced the pegs, I replaced these tuners, I replaced pretty much everything on it with black hardware, and then I spray painted Kirby on it, which is why I've dubbed it the Absorber. If you know what Kirby is, then you'll get that joke. So usually what I do is I just tape the battery inside the guitar somewhere, but given how rough the inside of a Squier Strat is, the tape doesn't want to stick. So now the battery just kind of rattles around inside it, which is very lovely, and I can't super glue it in there because obviously it'll run out sometime and then I'll have to replace it. So I have to figure out a solution to that before I, put strings on it and demo it for you for this video, which is fantastic. But have a listen. You can go on the wall here, I like you. Moving on to a very successful mod project. This is my 1995 Les Paul Studio, or as I've dubbed it, the Les Paul. If you've noticed, there is no headstock on this. If you're wondering where it is, it's right behind me there on this trophy mount, which is a very clever joke, I know. And yes, I also made an entire video documenting the process of this. That video, again, also in the description and in the end card and whatever. But I'm very, very proud of this because yes, this used to be an actual, genuine 1995 Gibson LP Studio, and what I did is I vastly improved the tuning stability, in essence. This is a KD patent headless bridge, and I didn't think that this thing would function so amazingly well, but it really, really does. This thing will stay in tune for weeks at a time, as opposed to, 3 minutes at a time with the old Gibson headstock. And for the string mount at the top, all I did was attach a Floyd Rose locking nut, so it's very, very easy to take strings in and out. You don't need like a 2-ball end kind of situation like you did with old headless guitars back in the day, I guess. And given the fact that it is still a Les Paul, and I did leave the original pickups in it, it sounds amazing. For obvious reasons, I can't hang this one on the wall, so it'll just go over there. Now this is a rather interesting one. It obviously still counts as a guitar because it is one, but this is my Harley Benton lap steel guitar. Unless you follow me on Instagram or you're a Patreon member, you won't have seen this thing yet, and that is for good reason. I bought this a couple of months ago, and I've kind of occasionally been practicing on it, because I want to get my chops up on lap steel guitar before I make a dedicated video to the instrument. I've always thought lap steel was very, very cool, and I think these were like on sale on Thomann, or I got a good deal on a B-stock or whatever, and so I bought this for like 70 or 80 euro, and it's very, very cool. It definitely sounds good. It's lots of fun. Like, this is a good quality instrument, especially for the price. Yeah, you haven't seen this in a video yet because that video is still passively in the works as I try to get my chops up on lap steel, but I guess you can sort of gauge my progress now because I'm going to demonstrate it for you. I think I'll put this here. Another new acquisition is this Ortega, I forget what it's called. I think it's called Lizard, which would make sense because there are lizards all over it. And this is a fretless bass ukulele. I just came back like 2 weeks ago from 42 Gear Street 5, and one of the people I got along with the best there was the Ortega rep for Germany. And so immediately when I got back home, I said, hey, you're the Ortega rep for Germany. Please send me a fretless bass ukulele, this is hilarious. And so he did. But it sounds pretty good, it plays amazing, and it's definitely as much fun as I envisioned it to be. Also, it's acoustic electric, so I can like plug it back like into my bass amp over there. And also, there's a tuner built in, and I have to show you this tuner real quick. You'll see this is just the O in the Ortega logo right here. Look at this. Let me just kind of pluck a note real quick. Is this not great? Like, I love this so much. That's such a like good attention to detail. And there will definitely be some like Primus covers with this on TikTok or Instagram Reels. So get hyped for those, I guess, and for the time being, enjoy the sound demo. You will go over here. This is the opposite of the corner of shame. This is the corner of things I love and cherish very much. Back to Harley Benton. A lot of Harley Benton in this video. Oh, fuck. My leg. This thing is an absolute behemoth. I don't know if genuine jazz basses are this huge. I don't have, like, any memory. I've played a jazz bass before. I don't have any memory of them being this genuinely, like, colossal. because like the headstock of this thing is as big as my head. I'm not joking, this is crazy. There's not a whole lot I can say about this thing, given the fact that I already had it in last year's iteration of this series, but also given that it's like €130 brand new, I think. So, you know, it's a jazz bass copy, it weighs a ton, it's fucking huge. The pickups are very low output. I actually have a video coming up in the kind of distant future, I suppose, where I want to modify this thing with some higher output pickups and a new pickguard and stuff, because these pickups are really holding back the potential that this bass has. But for a long while, it was the only bass I owned, and I was quite happy with it, you know, because I'm not actually a bass player. Sticking with the theme of Harley Benton basses, actually, this is the Harley Benton Marquess 4 bass, and this is such a beautiful instrument, isn't it? I love it so much. Besides how beautiful it is, both in its ridiculous, obnoxious shape and also this beautiful, like, trans blue burst finish, it also sounds much better than my jazz bass copy. Of course, it also cost a bunch more, but it has active pickups in it, and active pickups equals output, which, even though these aren't the best quality actives, means they are infinitely better than the cheap jazz bass copy passive pickups in the other one. So as of right now, this is obviously my bass of choice when it comes to playing metal. You go right over there. Up next, I made a video about this thing relatively recently. This here is the 2012 Indonesian-made Jackson Mili Petroza Phobia King V. It is the signature model of Mili Petroza from Creator, obviously. You know, there's the inlay to prove it. I got this thing out of it, and this is a fantastic instrument. I got it out of a trade, lucky enough. I'm not going to say what guitar I traded for it, because most of you don't actually know that I owned that guitar at any point ever, because it's kind of part of an ongoing trade project. So I don't actually know if I'll be keeping this. That depends if I get an enticing trade offer for it. It has an EMG 81 in the bridge, and that's the only pickup it has. It got kind of a kill switch situation going on here. I made a whole video about this guitar too because it's so special. Speaking of special, got a Floyd Rose special. Sound sample. Okay, it is getting a bit crowded here. So let me just... This is another guitar that I've owned for a while and that's been in a dedicated video, but not a video about the guitar so much as it was about me modifying it. This has always been a red and gold guitar. This was a Harley Benton Rock Series, one of the very, very old runs. And what I did is I put a Schala Floyd Rose in it and two Fishman Fluence active pickups, and then I think I replaced the pots and everything. So, you know, I've pretty much given this thing a total overhaul worth like 8 times the actual value of the guitar. And I do have to say, part of me regrets that Floyd Rose mod that I did on it, because I didn't do as good of a job on it as I could have, and you can probably tell just by the fact that I haven't really been playing it in my videos, and also you couldn't tell if you've been watching my videos for a while and you've seen the mod project, because ugh. Now this is another one that, yes, I do still own, but I don't really play. Excuse the string ends sticking out of the bridge. I have to put strings on this, obviously, before I sound demo it for you. This is a Donner ST whatever. I got this like a long time ago, I think, towards the end of last year, for a Christmas brand deal with Donner guitars. And while it is a good guitar, I don't like it as much as, say, that Blue Ibanez that I showed you earlier. A guitar in a similar price range, just with better quality and specs. But that doesn't mean that this thing isn't great. I don't advertise garbage. I advertise this to you because I enjoy it, and I really do. It has features like, it has a coil tap in the bridge humbucker, which is very, very advanced for like a €150 guitar. The pickups do sound great. The fret ends are filed perfectly. This thing is a super, super solid guitar, especially given the fact that this came in sort of a beginner kit, you know, the classic ones with like a battery-powered amp and stuff. So it was kind of an everything you need to start playing guitar kit, which is why I advertised it shortly before Christmas for people whose children or, I don't know, cousins might want to start getting into guitar. This metallic blue finish is obviously beautiful, and yeah, it plays and sounds decent. I'll just put some strings on it and then demo it for you. I suppose you can go oopsie over here in the back without breaking everything. And finally, last but most certainly not least, the Moore GTRS W900. Now you might remember this from, well, every guitar social media creator, yes, but also maybe the video that I did on it a couple months ago. And this guitar is honestly amazing. Obviously, you know, it's headless, so it weighs nothing. It's amazing to play. It's very compact. And the reason that I kept it and didn't sell it after the brand deal for that video is that while I don't really have a use for the technology inside, which is that there is basically an entire amp plug-in suite built into this thing that you can control with an app and just plug straight into an interface and play, that's cool and all, and I totally support that, and I love the innovation, and that's why I agreed to do a brand deal with GTRS. But that's not why I kept the guitar instead of selling it. I kept it because these pickups don't just work in the fancy schmancy digital way. These are regular pickups. I can just plug this thing into one of my actual real analog tube amps, crank it, and have a fantastic guitar to play through them. Because this thing has a roasted maple neck. It's so lightweight. It plays amazing standing up. It plays amazing in the first place. It's a very, very good guitar. And also, as you can probably tell by the purple background lighting and the black aluminium pickguard I chose to put on my Squier absorber, this thing is exactly my f***ing aesthetic. Take a listen. That pretty much sums up the collection, so all that's left to say is thank you very much for watching. Big thanks to my Patreon members. Their names should be somewhere around here. If you want to become a Patreon member, link is in the description. All my links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching. You know, subscribe somewhere down there. Watch my most recent video somewhere up here. I guess all the other videos that I talked about, or at least some of them, are going to be in the end card as well. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you around.